Yo guys, what's up? It's Deniz from Deniz World of Bodybuilding. Today I want to talk about the great Nasser El Sonbaty. GH15 on the internet forum always called him the beautiful man with glasses, so I made sure that I pick a picture with him wearing his famous glasses, his famous Harry Potter glasses, or how you would call them. So when you search through the internet, you will easily see that in the last years of his life, of his personal life, he got bitter. Okay, when he left the bodybuilding scene, it really seemed like he got bitter, and he really didn't want to talk about the bodybuilding scene afterwards as a positive thing with positive people. So it was the total opposite. He loved to tell stories, and he loved to tell really funny stories too, but also stories where you would be surprised because it was about people you would think that they were his friends. But Nasser was always a very funny guy, and who made a lot of irony too, so ironic sentences and very funny exaggerations and everything. So what I really think is that he was a great person. He had a good heart, and he was a great person and a good character in general. He loved to tell those exaggerated stories, but I think he was just so funny that he loved to tell those stories. So what I found in the internet was some personal experiences you very likely never heard of Nasser. Some Nasser stories, how he was in private, besides those Jumbo Palumbo or delusional clown Milos stories, which you heard on that famous bodybuilding.com interview. So let's start. Nasser was a great guest and very funny, even if it was at the expense of everyone else. He hung shit on just everybody, every other pro, and although it could seem he was full of hate, a lot of it was tongue-in-cheek. He would tell the most incredible, unbelievable stories of other pros. Sometimes I think he would just see how far he could go before you knew he was bullshitting. He also had a kind side that he didn't like anyone to see. We went to this restaurant on Sydney Road one night. It was Nepalese from memory, and the family was working very hard to keep the doors open. They had the dad cooking, the mom serving, and a few little kids out the back on broken furniture and on the floor watching a tiny little TV. You could see they were doing it hard and basically had nothing. When we were leaving, Nasser said he had forgotten something and went back inside. I watched through the window as he handed over a couple of $100 to the mom. He came outside and never said a word about it. I thought that showed a lot of class. So this was story 1. Now story 2. Another time in a different restaurant, much more upmarket, we got really bad service. One of us complained when the food came out cold or undercooked or something. Nasser quickly paid the bill and said we are leaving, convinced that chefs spit in your food if ever you complain. With a deadpan straight face, he warned me to always leave a restaurant in this situation, no exceptions. And then the next story. On one tour we had quite a few bottles of beer. On the last night we had an early start, and I dropped him off at the hotel late in the night. After a few hours I returned to go get him to the airport. I was exhausted, hungover, and just made it out of bed. There he was, as fresh as could be, no hangover, all packed up and waiting at the front. When we got to the airport, he handed me a big envelope full of 8x10 pictures, you know, the size of the pictures, that he had been selling on the tour. He had stayed up and signed every one of them, maybe 50 to 60. Some he even had left a message like train hard, ... your friend Nasser, leaving blank spaces for their names. When I asked him what they were for, he said, Please give them out to the fans that could not afford to come to the show. He could be cutting with his opinions and stories, but then he had this kindness that I have seldom seen. So that was the Nasser stories I have from a source on the forum, from a person that knew Nasser personally. So I really believe those stories, as I knew one person in real life that also met Nasser and only has positive comments about him, how he treated his fans, his human being character. And that's my impression of Nasser at the end of the day. So I think he loved to tell funny stories, but at the end of the day, he had a good heart. That's what I think about Nasser. So what's your opinion? Subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned and write your comments. Bye.